welcome to episode 1
Hooray.
of the Untitled Artcast. I'm Hunter.
And I'm Kass.
And this is our podcast of how we just are enthusiastic about art and stuff. And it's our spooky episode.
It is. I was so excited to talk about the things we like.
We're also very sick, so if...
Sorry about that.
Yeah, if it sounds weird, it's because we're sick. But we're getting over it.
I like we both sniffle at the same time.
Hopefully next episode we're not
Yes.
sick. I'm almost done being sick. You're almost done being sick.
Yeah, it's just kind of going around, you know.
But that's not the main topic of today. It's spooky season, and so we're talking about...
We're excited to present to you one of our favorite shows of the season ever.
Yes. of all spooky seasons.
Of all spooky seasons.
Over the Garden Wall.
Of course.
Yes.
Yes. It's definitely one of my favorite shows. I've watched it like 6 different times now.
Yeah. It's short and you can just you can...
It's made by Patrick McHale.
Yeah.
It was released around 2016, 2017, I want to say.
It was in like the summer, I think, of 2017.
Yes.
I think.
And the reason why I like it so much is it's definitely a modern take on suspenseful horror, which you don't see a lot anymore.
It's a kid's cartoon that came out on Cartoon Network. It's an amazing show. It's got like an art style that's like old cartoons kind of.
It's definitely
Cuphead, it's old Mickey,
the
it's
40s.
Old Disney, it's maybe even before then.
Yeah, that's true. I just think some of the tropes might be more related to that. Yeah.
Well, the tropes are kind of more modern tropes.
Yeah,
just like
true.
the art style and aesthetic is very old Hollywood, old Disney, old.
Yes. It definitely
between the 20s and the 40s.
It gives you a sense of like suspense, but also at the same time you feel like you're being taken back to something that's kind of familiar.
It's just like really uneasy and like, but it's like welcoming. It's kind of like that whole like.
Yeah, it's cozy. It's cozy,
theme.
campy horror. Yeah.
So it's kind of a show about 2 young brothers on Halloween and.
In the 70s.
Around based, they don't confirm it, but based on like certain things, people theorize it's around the 70s, and it's kind of like that. So Wirt is the main brother. Well, I think of him as the main brother.
Yeah, it's
kind
centered
of
around Wirt and Greg. Yeah.
Wirt and Greg are the brothers. Wirt is the older brother, voiced by
Elijah Wood. Yes.
I don't remember the younger brother, but I think it's more of like a up and coming voice actor, not like someone not like the other voice actors in the show. Not like the other.
But he did a great job.
Yeah, he did a great job. We love Greg.
So it's definitely this whole take on like kind of like a journey, so to speak.
Well,
or at least that's
we're going to talk... There's a ridiculous amount of subtext that we're just going to skip till later, because we'll just talk about what literally happens.
Okay. Right.
So it's like Halloween. Wirt and Greg are out. They're trying to... what is their outfits for Halloween? Because they wear these, but that's like their outfits.
So Greg says that he's an elephant. Remember, he wore a teapot on his head, and that's his trunk. And Wirt's whole outfit, it's not really an outfit. It's just speculated that it's kind of like a Confederate soldier's outfit, I think, or it was an infantryman. I don't remember. Yeah,
it's a Confederate soldier's
it was just something that he got out of his attic.
And then he kind of has like a dunce hat.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think of a gnome a little bit.
We were watching a video about some like behind the scenes like tips, and apparently the creator made that outfit as like an 80s rock and roll persona.
Oh, okay.
It's supposed to be like an electrical rock star
sense.
who just he used to just always wear his like Confederate cape or some Civil War, coat with like a hat, and then his electric guitar, but they kind of scrapped it and just used that though. And he has made a tape for his crush, Sarah, and he's trying to not it's one of those things where he accidentally gave it, Greg gave it to her, didn't he?
Yes, and then he decided no.
And then Wirt's like, oh no, I need to get this back.
Yeah, so it kind of starts with Wirt, kind of like immersing you into like what's going on with their whole social...
dynamic.
Yes, and kind of the things that go on around them.
Yeah. It's and it's a very like cul-de-sac kind of vibe. It reminds me a lot of like Ed, Edd and Eddy kind of like where it's just like all the kids in the community are going out.
Yeah, it's Halloween. It's trick or treating night. And then they go out with them afterwards.
Well,
after the game.
Yeah, there's the homecoming game that happens or whatever, the Halloween game. And then after the Halloween game, Wirt's crushes... Well, Sarah is Wirt's crush, and she and her friends are going to the cemetery to hang out because that's cool, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't do that. What about you, hon? Like they go to hang out at
Oh yeah, this is great. So their whole thing is they're like, "Do you want to come hang out with us in the graveyard? It'll be like a witches' gathering. We'll drink age-appropriate drinks."
Yeah,
they do. They drink juice.
They drink juice.
And then that one cop comes.
The cops come and they say, "Hey kids, stop."
Hey kids, get out of there. You know.
No, because they're all trying to run away from the cops, and they go, "Wait,
it was just a joke.
It's a joke. Stop. Wait." And then Greg and Wirt jump up onto the garden wall.
Yeah, over the garden wall.
And they say, "Hey, you guys, get down here." And then they jump back the other way, and they go, "No, not that way." And so they jump over the garden wall, and then a train comes, and
they have to be forced to jump or get hit by it.
So. Well, I guess that's more subtext. We'll go later.
No, well, that's literally what happens. They're on the tracks.
They either have to just jump or get hit.
And so they jump, and that's kind of what leads the whole sequence of Into the Unknown.
Yeah, they fall into the unknown, which is kind of like this. It's like a higher layer of dimension or something.
There's a lot of room for speculation on this.
Well, let's go based on what they were, because when the teens
it's definitely like another plane of existence at the very least.
Well, yeah, I'm getting to it.
Okay.
Well, when the teens are walking into the graveyard, they go like, well, there's certain things people can't understand, human understanding, and then they say, well, you're limiting humans humans are limited to their cognizant like understanding, and then they say you're limiting humans because they could like understand that, and they say, well, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of
before.
Yeah, so the unknown is like kind of like Greg and Wirt interpreting these crazy ideas in the only way they know possible.
Yeah, I think that's
which is through like cartoony like things.
Yeah, it's like their way they're interpreting the sequence of events and stuff. So they wake up in a forest and they're like, where are we?
Yeah, then they just kind of try to find their way home.
Yes. And so that's their whole story or journey behind this. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, and they meet a whole bunch of crew characters, and they're just all really fun and harrowing.
Yes, and it has this whole scary, like feeling of suspense the entire time, even during the parts where it's not like
I think
scary.
It's just kind of like you can't trust anybody.
Yeah, they definitely tapped into the sense of like they wanted the viewer to also feel kind of lost.
Yeah.
In a sense, so you're kind of pulled into it in a way that feels like nice and intimate, and you feel like you're kind of right there with them.
Okay, well, I think this is probably a good area to segue into the characters, and like we can talk more specifically about the characters because it's kind of like. We went over the brief description of it. I mean, it's everything that happens in the unknown is pretty, wacky and wild, and they kind of just do whatever. It's kind of there's just a lot of there's a lot of subtext we want to get to later. That's more spoilery, but that's like the basic like idea of the show and all that and stuff. And I just want to talk about these characters because I love these boys.
Yes. So I would say our three main characters would be Greg, Wirt, and Beatrice for the most part.
Yeah, for the most part. They're in most every episode.
Yeah, so Beatrice is a talking bird that they met just randomly in an encounter, and she turns out she was
stuck in a bush, and Greg got her out, and Greg wanted a wish from her because he thought she was magical, and she said, "I'll do you a favor. I am not magical. Please do not ask me for a wish. I cannot do this."
And he's like, "Well, you don't need to be magical. Do the thing."
I'll think of my wish later.
Yes, it was so cute.
Yeah, he's in his own world.
Yes.
So, Beatrice is the talking bird.
It's often speculated that because of their dynamic that it could be an allegory to Dante's Inferno, especially because of how Beatrice kind of acts as a guide for them. But I think later it's kind of shown that Patrick McHale wanted it to go in a different direction with that. Well, he explicitly even says, like, it's not really all you think it is, so to speak.
Yeah, the unknown is always very confusing.
Yes.
it's hard to, form your thoughts about this
Yes, and so Beatrice kind of, after this, getting another watch of this, you kind of tend to realize that she has her own shit, so to speak, and her own agenda throughout the tale.
Yeah. And then, we didn't really talk about Greg and Wirt the whole lot.
Yes.
So, Wirt is kind of like our main character. He's a little... He's more like...
He's a little bit of a downer.
He's like me. He's very anxious. He's very unfun.
He's a little bit angsty, He's a teen.
He's closeted. He's very, worried. He's a very worried boy.
And then Greg is, I would say, not necessarily a foil, but a totally different character.
Yeah,
he's his younger brother.
Foil is not the right term, I don't think.
He's definitely more of our haha lighthearted character.
They're almost they're almost mirror opposites, but both positively in the same way.
Yes, so his character trait is that he's silly and carefree, and he is just cool, kind of being there.
Yeah, it's funny because he's seen as very dumb, but also he takes things just very literally, and that's also I think that's why it's so funny. Even certain parts in the show where he references things that's happened and then that, which also kind of shows that he does pay attention. He's just kind of just doing his own stuff. Yeah, he's like Donnie.
Yeah.
From The Big Lebowski.
Yes.
He just doesn't know he's like, oh hey, that's it.
Hey.
Yeah, we love Greg. I think Greg's our favorite character. Mm-hmm. He's just so funny. And
for sure. He's funny, he's witty, and he definitely...
He's just here for a good time.
Yeah. It's a good contrast to Wirt's personality. We love Greg, but I think we would all be a Wirt, so to speak.
I am.
You know what? Yeah, I feel that too.
In our dynamic, you're Greg.
I think so. And so,
but if you were in charge, we would be dead.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Yeah. So then, other than those three characters, I guess the woodsman is the first guy we kind of meet. He's very important. He's the guy who he
runs the mill now that Beatrice's family are all birds.
Yeah, he's just hey, this mill is free, dog. I'm living here. This is mine now.
Love that? He's cool, free mill.
Yeah.
And he has his own thing going on. His daughter died. I think that's the whole thing.
Well, the beast took her.
Oh yeah. And so he made a deal with the beast. We didn't talk about the beast either. The beast
we're getting there,
one of the
major
but characters.
The beast is kind of shown through the woodsman.
Yeah.
So the woodsman's kind of
the beast is kind of this omnipresent thing that everyone kind of warns Greg and Wirt about. I wouldn't say he's bad, but it seems that his whole motivation is to keep people stranded there, lost in the unknown.
Well, yeah, to accept the darkness.
Yeah.
To accept this unknown.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He really wants them to be immersed in it and kind of
Well, it's really kind of
relinquish control.
Well, the whole thing is so the woodsman has the lantern, and he has to get wood to grind into oil to keep it lit.
Yes. And then we find out.
That
the trees are fucking people.
The beast's whole thing is turning the people into wood to make
to burn
oil
for his
so
lantern.
that he can be alive still.
Mm-hmm. And so that's his whole agenda.
That's his whole agenda. And he just kind of
And so you can kind of view his dynamic with the woodsman. They're going back and forth.
Yeah, the woodsman he's just kind of the woodsman believes that it's his daughter's soul in there. And that he needs to keep his daughter alive until the beast lets her out.
Which is later disproved.
Disproven,
yes.
Well, yeah. And... Yeah, the beast.
And so the entire time while they're trying to escape, everyone's run away, the beast.
Fear the beast.
Yes, everyone. Everyone knows who the beast is there.
The beast is kind of death. Well, it's just...
I don't know.
I think the beast is just...
he's more abstract. He's just the darkness that's there.
He's just fear itself.
Yeah, I feel he's definitely a mixture of things. I don't know what to call him. I wouldn't go as far to call him the devil or anything like that, but definitely that kind of imagery. In fact, it's speculated that in
it kind of is like the devil, though. You're kind of selling your soul almost.
Mm-hmm. And in earlier illustrations, it was said that they wanted to name him Old Scratch, which was a 40s slang for the devil.
Mm-hmm. So pretty much, it's pretty much like that. And then, other than that, what are some of your favorite characters? We'll just go offhand. Just because we've kind of covered the big ones.
I liked the Queen of the Clouds, but that's just because she's pretty. I think as far as character and narrative goes, though, I really liked Lorna.
I also really liked Lorna. I love you, Christopher Nolan, if you're out there.
I also like The Beast.
The Beast is also pretty interesting.
Who else did I enjoy watching? I liked Endicott's whole thing. It was cute.
Yeah, the Endicotts was cute.
Yeah, I didn't mind it
I really like Fred the talking horse.
Oh my gosh, yes, Hunter loves Fred.
I want to steal.
Fred can do whatever he wants. I want to steal.
So Fred is a talking horse that they didn't take. Mm-hmm. They say that they argue that they stole the horse, but they also argue that it's a talking horse and he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, he's kind of proven to be somewhat sentient. He can talk.
We already stole a horse.
Hey, guys.
No, we didn't. Fred's a talking horse. He can do whatever he wants.
I want to steal.
Yeah. he actually just doesn't know how to make horse noises, so he tries.
Yes.
It sounds more of like an awkward laugh.
Yes, but the good news is that it fits for the show, and it's great.
And he wants to steal.
I also like their frog, Jason Funderburger.
Yeah, Yeah,
the boat episode.
It's funny because they always talk about naming the frog is like the biggest thing.
Yes, it's a theme throughout the entire show.
Well, the first thing that happens is when the first time they meet the woodsman, he says, "You boy, you better name that frog.
Give him a proper name.
Give that frog a proper name."
And so throughout the entirety of the show, Greg is trying out different names for this frog.
He starts with Kitty, and then he goes to Wirt, and then he calls him Wirt Jr.
Yes.
And then what else does he call him?
What did he settle on?
He settles on Jason Thunderburger.
Funderburger, yeah.
But,
I don't remember.
Yeah, there's more names to it, but he doesn't ever get them locked down.
Yes, he switches in between it until later. So, and I guess we can touch on Lorna a little bit.
Yeah, Lorna is like the child servant of one of these like witches.
Yes, that exists in the unknown.
Yeah.
And so we meet the two of them, and we totally expect the witch to be like kind of
the whole thing about is like, oh, I'm gonna eat some children.
Yeah. She's like, I better not smell children here. I'll eat them.
Is there any children in here to be eaten?
Yeah, and Lorna seems pretty cool. Like she just looks like a regular like young girl, and she's like, no, and she hides them.
No Auntie Whispers.
Yes, so that the witch doesn't eat them. And then we come to find out that the entire reason why Lorna's being captured, or quote unquote captured or held hostage, is
the whole dynamic between her and Auntie Whispers is that like Auntie Whispers like rings a bell and forces her to do a lot of hard labor.
Yeah.
Like against her,
which seems a little sus at first.
And that's why our characters are like, this sucks. We need to save you.
We want to help her.
Yeah, and then they ended up like getting her outside. And it turns out that the actual person eating all these kids
is Lorna.
Herself.
Yes. The reason why she's controlled by the bell is because she's possessed by an evil spirit.
Yeah.
That basically compels her to do bad things.
Yeah. The spirit of the ringing of the bell commands you.
And so while she's chasing them, preparing to eat them, it turns out that the frog swallowed the bell that commands Lorna. And so they wave it around and banish the spirit.
Yeah.
She goes back to normal. It's pretty nice and sweet. And her and Wirt have this cute little song together that they sing while they clean up the house.
Two of us, like passing ships.
Yes, and it references some of the poetry that Wirt wrote.
Yeah.
Yeah, he uses a lot of like the ship imagery in his lyrics as well, and I thought it was just cute.
Yeah. And he's got like he's in model trains.
I'd beg to say that he had a crush on her to some degree.
Yeah, I mean, when we were watching it, like one of the most recent times, I was like, why doesn't he just like stay dead with Lorna?
Yeah. But he decides, to face his IRL problems instead.
Yeah, that's kind of the big theme is Wirt taking responsibility.
Oh, we didn't talk about the Pottsfield people either.
Do you want to talk about the Pottsfield people?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Pottsfield is like this little harvest town. It's kind of
dead people.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So they're brought there and they're looking for
one cat.
Yes, and one cat. It's so weird. The entire sequence of events is just super
turkey.
weird. Yeah, Greg goes looking for a phone and he's like, "Hey," and there's just this giant human-sized turkey.
It has its head laying on the ground,
yes.
and then it sits up really close.
No, it's sitting in a desk.
Yeah, but it has its head on the table and it sits up and it goes. and then he puts his head back down when Wirt leaves.
And he's like, "Never mind," and it slaps his head back on the desk as they close the door. It's just such an awkward scene, but it's funny.
Yeah, it is really funny.
And so they accidentally squash some vegetables, some pumpkins on their way
Yeah, so they just they stomp on. You come into our party. You stomp all over our crops. No, you just want to leave.
No, you just want to leave.
Yeah, the Pottsfield people are pretty fun.
Yes.
But they
It's basically very clearly indicated that it's like kind of a limbo area for people and souls. It's specifically
the unknown is.
that Pottsfield.
Well, I feel like Pottsfield's like the way the
Even
place. I think that's always the place that I think of is like where you go to die.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. But yeah, so it's even speculated upon entering like this area, this barn where the people are like husking corn and dancing.
It's a corn husking party.
Yes, it's time of the harvest. That sort of vibe. There's this they're all dressed in pumpkin suits. So they look like pumpkin people, and so it's a little unsettling. This girl walks up to her and she's like, "Isn't it a little bit early for you to be joining us?"
Yeah.
Oh, that was so creepy.
And like the other guy who's like, because they carve their smiles in like a very like creepy smile, and then he's carving like some face, and he looks like just like he's like deadpan like smiling, and then he like looks over at him.
It definitely gives you the creeps just seeing the autonomy of the pumpkin suits and stuff. And so where it comes in, he's asking for directions to leave, and they're like, "How dare you leave us? How dare you trample our crops?"
What do you mean you want it?
Yeah. It's nice here. And so this giant pumpkin man is like, whoa. You're coming into our town. You're messing up our crops.
And now you want to leave.
And so they're scared, They're thinking they're gonna get axed or something.
We sentence you to a couple hours manual labor.
And they're like, oh, that's not too bad.
What? Really?
Yeah. And so they're out digging as their penance.
They're digging holes. They're digging holes.
Yes. And so Beatrice freaks out while she's with them. She's like, I wonder if you're digging your own grave. Freaking out.
Freaking. Well, she's not doing anything.
Yeah, she didn't do any work the entire time.
And then we're and Greg are digging, and then they go, well, this is like a grave size.
Yeah.
And then they're like,
oh yeah.
And then Greg finds a skeleton, and he's like, ah.
Yeah, and so it turns out that they're actually digging up another person, another soul.
Yeah, they're digging up a skeleton to be in with the other pumpkin people.
Yes, and so this skeleton jumps out of the grave, freaks the shit out of Wart, and then puts on a pumpkin costume. And they're like,
I just think it was so funny that Wart's like because that's just like I always really like when they do like two different things happening at the same time kind of thing, where it's like the Pottsfield people just wanted them to dig up these people, so like they don't think anything's wrong. They're like, "Hey, well, are you done digging your hole?" And but Wirt thinks they're gonna kill them after they're done.
He's like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna die."
So he's like, "Yeah, we're all we're not done." No. And he's like, "What?" And then Greg and Beatrice just run away.
They just escape. They ditch him.
Yeah, and then he looks back and he's like, "What?" And then there's a skeleton that pops out, and then he's like, "Oh, I fucked this."
Yeah,
I'm out. He
just runs leaves. Away. It's fantastic. And so that kind of starts the next episode, I guess, so to speak.
You go to the next spot.
What I like about each episode is they're all in different areas, but they're all done in an art style that isn't different from like...
No, you visibly can tell the difference on like where you're at.
Well, you know what I mean? It's the same aesthetic, so it's not unnerving. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It's the same world, you can tell,
yes.
but like
different
every
places.
Location is very visibly different.
I think that's when they go off to the mansion, right?
No,
or was that in the Endicott one?
That's where they go to the inn, and then the inn is.
Oh right, so they bust into the inn, and that's where they recruit Fred.
They steal Fred the horse, who also wants
after
to steal.
They sing and dance this whole music number.
They didn't they want Wirt to stay to marry like some girl?
Well, no, what happened is that he tried to ask for directions and they misheard him. When he said he was looking for a woman, they thought that he meant he was looking for a girl to date. And so this is all awkward.
But they're looking for Adelaide.
Yes, and what's great is that so apparently when Elijah Wood was preparing to sing the song for this, they taunted him into being like awkward so that he would sing it bad.
Greg's voice actor bullied him into being so self-conscious about singing this song just to make it sound even more awkward.
And it does. It is awkward for everyone, but it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
And so after that, they're just like, oh, well, we were mistaken. So you're a pilgrim, you're a journeyer, you're here to get out.
Yeah.
And so they ask for directions again. They're like, just follow the compass in your heart. And they turn out to be right, but we didn't understand that yet.
Yeah. But then they go to Endicott, which is like a manor where one guy, it's so big that two people live there and they've never seen each other.
Yeah, at this point, Beatrice was like, well, I know a lady, a witch here, Adelaide. We'll go see Adelaide.
In the forest.
And so that's kind of what they're looking for now, is to meet this witch in the woods to send them back home.
Yeah.
And so they need to get money to cross a boat to get there.
2 cents.
Yes, which is why they're at Endicott's, pretending to be his in-laws so that they can take money from him. Yeah.
They want to steal.
So there's this whole scene about it. You get to see a little bit more of a narrative for Beatrice when they're talking alone in the armoire.
Yeah.
And so they kind of go into each other's secrets, so to speak. They talk about that. What are you scared about? And Beatrice is like, yeah, it's my fault. My family got turned into birds.
Yeah.
And his whole thing is like, well, I like this girl and I'm just so fucking awkward.
Yeah.
And so while this is happening, Greg is distracting Endicott, the mansion owner, and he's like, the other day I saw a woman, a ghost, I think.
A ghoul.
Yes.
In my home.
Yes. And so they go looking for the ghost, and it actually turns out to be another person who runs a tea company. Their houses were so big that when they were built, they just kept building until they were
They built into each other.
Yes. And so it's just like another mansion on the other half. And they meet, and they're like,
wholesome and cute.
Oh, I love you.
The show is very... Well, because we can kind of touch on the subtext, is that this series is all kind of based around Wirt and Greg being in purgatory. And it's kind of like every single place they go to, or every person that they meet, those people are also in purgatory, and it's kind of like they're saving, or they're like putting their souls to rest. And it seems like that's a kind of big theme throughout, because even just this is like him fighting her is kind of like putting his soul to rest, kind of.
I think it's a neat way to look at that.
Yeah. And like just with everything, even with Lorna, with the woodsman, like with everybody they meet, they kind of just like they go in, try to give their souls peace.
It feels like nice and intimate, like you're kind of viewing a window in time.
Yeah.
Especially because it's not really speculated how long time passes in the unknown.
Well, because the moon stays the same.
Yes, throughout the entire show.
Technically same night, no time passes.
Yes. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought here.
It's okay. We're on. We can just move on if you want. We can just talk. I wanted to talk about the art style more.
Oh yes, for sure. I definitely think he takes inspiration from like the 40s cartoon style a lot. It's very. There's even some rotoscoping.
The music is also kind of from the same.
Yes,
kind of vibe.
And it seems very deliberate. A lot of the lyrics kind of tie into what's going on, the locations, and where they're at.
Or more subtext.
Yes. Which is why I think it's important too. Like, for instance, in Pottsfield, you can hear the song that's playing, they talk about the harvesting of souls, that sort of thing. Yeah, it's very neat and creepy.
It is very creepy.
I love it.
Well, it's creepy because the Pottsfield song specifically is there's multiple people talking over each other at the same time, so you're like, you don't know what to focus on.
It's a little unnerving.
And there's a lot of people there, and there's a lot being said.
There's a lot going on, for sure.
Yeah, and the aesthetic is, like, very Halloween, I think.
Yes, it's a nice, like, curl up with some popcorn.
Yeah.
It's cold outside.
Even, like, the trees in the forest are all, like, kind of dying, like it's, like, fall.
Yeah, and even though it doesn't really touch upon, like you said, time is different there. There's definitely a transition between fall and winter that happens through the series.
I think that's a little more subtext too, but I think it's kind of because they're dying.
Yes.
That was them almost being dead. Because they're getting cold.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry, I'm getting a little off topic.
No, it's okay. We're good.
What would you say is your favorite music from the show? We've been listening to the soundtrack a lot.
Yeah, we've been listening to the soundtrack. I think the theme song, like Over the Garden Wall, which is played during the episode where the frogs are on the boat, like with Wirt Jr. or whatever, he sings Over the Garden Wall.
Yes, it's a whole ass episode where the frog just suddenly becomes more anthropomorphic.
Yeah, more human-like, and then just like goes back to being like just
a normal frog.
Yeah,
I thought that was interesting too.
Yeah, but the song he sings is like the Over the Garden Wall song, and it's I think that one's probably my favorite. It's at least the most enjoyable for me.
I think I like that song, but I like it more in the opening credit because it really helps to set the tone, I think. It shows little snippets of, like, bits of the show, even, like, in rhythms and sound effects and whatnot. You see the frog playing a piano, and in the background you can see a little bit, some icons and scenery that's foreshadowing for the show. And I think that's so cool because it kind of shows you rather than says stuff. Yeah. Yeah, so that leaves a lot open to speculation.
Well, there's still a lot of speculation in the normal song, too. It's just they kind of sing it in a, like, very vague way.
Yes, I definitely like that about the show. And I like how they kind of lay it out for you. Mm-hmm. Yes. So it's like they give you little puzzle pieces, but it's kind of your job to sort through them, so to speak.
Yeah. What about you?
For music? Mm-hmm. Well, I said the OP.
You kind of like
I also like the tavern scene. Well, the not the Highwayman music, but the one where the tavern keeper sings about the beast.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I think that is a lot of... Well, as someone who was raised, like, in a religious background, it definitely gave me the same feelings where people were like, oh, the devil, you know?
Yeah, it is kind of like the devil.
It's so... It's eerie and it's exciting and it's cool and I just love it. Especially because the tavern keeper has this whole Betty Boop kind of voice going on while she sings. It's very stylistically nice.
Yeah, I enjoy it too. Mm-hmm. It's really nice.
Moving on.
What's your favorite episode?
My favorite episode.
I'm just gonna say the same thing based on my song. Is like the boat episodes. My favorite.
I think the later episodes are actually my favorite because that's when they start to kind of the plot
really
is full
just go in.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I would say the scenes, the Cloud City scene.
Yeah.
Love it. I liked when Greg was being looked for after the beast took him. Yeah. Yeah. So there's this whole thing where we're kind of succumbed to the darkness, so to speak.
Well, it's like the unknown. He kind of like gave in to the unknown.
Yeah, he gave up, and Greg basically offered his soul in exchange for Wirtz.
To try to get home.
Yes. Oh, yeah, because what happened is that, so when we're in Cloud City, he meets the Queen of the Clouds
after... Yeah, let's go even further back. Wirt basically gives up, and he says, like, I don't know how to get home. Yeah. I tried everything I could. You do it now. Yeah. And then Greg goes... Oh, okay, you get some sleep and I'll think of a plan.
Yeah, I'll do it. Don't worry.
And then he walks off and he finds the beast and he said, do you know where I can go home?
And he's like, yes.
He's like, you must do a thing.
Well, no, that's not true. He has his dream first.
Well, yeah, he does kind of.
He has his whole Cloud City thing, and that's what happens. Remember, he meets the Queen of the Clouds, and she's like, "You're great, and I'm gonna let you out of here." And he's like, "Well, what about my brother?" And she's like, "He can't go."
Yeah, because he's not ready.
Because it's not that he gave up. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just like the beast overcame him at that point, and so she couldn't do anything about it. And so Greg was like, "Well, can you do this instead?" And so she grants him his wish, and Wirt is released from the beast's clutches. Yeah, so to speak.
But Greg isn't.
Yes, but Greg had to go in his place, so to speak. It's just really sad.
Yeah, it is really sad. But he redeems himself.
Yes, that in the Cloud City episode is so good to watch when you're high because the whole thing is like a weird fever dream.
Oh my god.
Apparently some of the animal sketches they did were actually taken out because they were quote unquote too creepy.
Yeah, they even do the Here in Cloud City.
Yes,
the song and
committee.
Yeah, and they introduce like 3 of like the characters, and then there's the 4th one that's just like a really depressing, dark like
it makes me think of Flapjack, you know what I mean? When they cut to the weird faces. And it zooms like
really close in, and it's just like...
He just looks so scary.
And then it comes back to Greg, and he goes, I think 3's enough.
It was so cute.
Yeah, it's great.
So I think those episodes, so even the I would say like 11 where they give the backstory is also nice because they kind of tell you the story.
They sell it up. They kind of break it up out of order, and it's kind of like you don't really know what happens until near the end, and then it kind of restarts it, and then it kind of plays the end out.
Even the order of the events kind of calls into question like what's happening? Is it real? Do we know? It makes you feel a sense of uncertainty, which I think is like very hard to do.
Yeah, well, I mean the whole thing about like the unknown is that it's all just very like
so you're not really sure. Patrick McHale himself said that the 3 biggest themes were life and death, fantasy versus reality, and dreams versus wakefulness. Yeah. And those 3 are hard present in the show. And that's why it's so, how do you say, not disheartening, but it's like so...
Dreadful.
Yes, it's dreadful, but in a way that's comforting. You know what I mean? It feels like you're visiting an old friend.
It's melancholy.
Yes. And it's been able to encapsulate all these themes in a way that's like... It's not too much. Yeah. Yeah.
I guess we can get into the subtext now.
Oh, yes. Life versus death.
This whole thing, like, we've been kind of sprinkling it this whole time, though, around is just, like...
It's been starting with the train. It's speculated that in a lot of Western tropes and a lot of that kind of stuff, a black train is symbolic for death. And even in the song, when they're tumbling down the hill, there's a song about it, the
black train.
It's coming, yeah.
Yeah. This is also kind of fun. One of the first movies that were ever made that like really freaked people out was when a train was coming towards the screen, and people thought they were gonna get hit by the train. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
So that's why they like ran out.
And even in Dreams Through Wakefulness, I think like the cuts in between the real world, the unknown, and then like the other plane in Cloud City, you know? Just like different
Cloud
stuff.
City is like heaven.
Yeah, it looks like heaven, the way it's depicted, and there's a bunch of cute little stuffed animal looking guys. Yeah. It's really cute.
Yeah, I think they don't like straight up say it, but I actually do think that like Wirt and Greg got hit by the train.
I don't think so. Well, right. So I do actually remember talking about this. I was going through more of the stuff in the subtext and some of the facts that we missed the first few times around.
There's a lot you can miss.
And I would beg to say that I think they actually did die, and that's why it's such a sad show.
But they can't like do that on Cartoon Network.
Yeah, but they can't do that on Cartoon Network.
Yeah, that's why they kind of changed it a little.
I mean, that would make sense as to why when they wake up, the frog still has the bell in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Greg, like, remembers.
Yes, which is really weird.
Yeah. Yeah, because we did notice that in like when they're in the hospital and the frog is dancing, you can see the light is like ringing up.
Yeah, it's like really strange.
But I guess you could argue that the bell was in the river.
Yeah,
and
but I think it still kind of comes back to like the whole human comprehension thing.
Yeah.
Once again, Patrick McHale was like, well, maybe it's not quite literal. Maybe it's about wakefulness versus sleep.
Yeah.
What's real and what's not real.
Yeah.
All of those kind of concepts, and that's why it makes it so unnerving to watch. Because you're like, I don't know, this could be literally anything, and it's just cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's Greg and Wirt's like them coming to terms with like what's been going on.
Yes, I think it centers around the two brothers, but I think the more important part to like kind of hone in on is Wirt's whole journey of self-discovery. Multiple times he's being told to grow up.
Take responsibility.
He's thinking about his own shortcomings, and that's why he has such a struggle
taking care of responsibility for for Greg's actions.
Yes, and so I think that's why it touches a lot on his personal aspects. It's about
the woodsman a lot calls him out on that.
Yes, and a lot of people in the show do. They call him out on his shit a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, where Beatrice says he's stubborn, the woodsman says he's irresponsible. He thinks that he's dumb and lame because he can't talk to Sarah.
Yeah.
Just a lot of commentary about that, for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of self-doubt.
And I think that's what makes it so, so relatable. Because I think it kind of captures that awkward part of adolescence that we've all felt at one time. Yeah.
It's just awkward. Not knowing what to do.
Yeah, it's written very well about that. And so that's why I think him, really kind of stepping forth after that is what makes it kind of redeeming. You know what I mean? At the end, with the beast and the woodsman, kind of the climax.
Yeah, the climax of like... He thinks the beast is the woodsman.
Yeah, he realizes that Greg is dead, and he goes to the woodsman and the beast, and he's like, fuck, I gotta get my brother back,
Yeah, and the only way he knows how.
Yeah, and so the beast tries to strike a deal with him, and he realizes that it's just all a lie. Like, all the stuff he's been shown, he was like, well, with the way you talk, it's probably your soul that's in the lantern, and he calls him out on it.
And he almost blows out the light, and he's just like, no!
Yes, he threatens to blow out the lantern. We see a nice 2 frames of holes.
Like one frame
Trypophobia,
of like what
if you
the
have
actual
that,
beast
maybe
looks
don't
like.
See that, it's gross. But yeah, you get to see a quick flash of the beast's natural form outside of the shadows. It's just creepy.
Yeah, and then he's like, fuck this. This is your shit. You gotta do it,
and he's like, I'm taking my brother and I'm getting the fuck out of here.
This is your problem.
Yeah, and so they wake up and they climb out of the water where they fell from.
Yeah.
And they get all transported to the hospital.
Well, the cops and the kids get them.
Yes.
Yeah. And then,
that's kind of...
All is good.
Yes, and then you get this nice ending sequence in the credits, kind of seeing some of the things in the unknown being resolved. You see Beatrice and her family are back to humans again.
Yeah, the teacher and her monkey man.
The woodsman is reunited with his daughter. Yeah. What else? Oh, you see the circus, and you see what's the lady who's obsessed with him. You know, the two of them. Yeah. The schoolhouse
the monkey
scene.
Man and the.
Oh yeah, we forgot about the schoolhouse scene. That was a whole ass thing.
I didn't think we needed.
It's not that important.
We don't need to just tell you what happens in the show. Yeah, it's a very quick show.
That's true. It's like an hour long total. That sort of thing.
It's a short show.
It's great.
Yeah,
I love it.
We didn't want to just like say the whole thing. It's okay. Yeah, everyone kind of has a happy ending. Beatrice and her family turn back from being birds.
Yeah, it's a nice little ending. It feels satisfying, and I think the fact that there's still some stuff left over to pick from.
Supplementary.
Like the turtles. No one fucking knows what these turtles are. They're everywhere in the show, and I'm not really quite sure
Everything
what
bad
they are.
happens when
but
these black fucking
it was speculated that when drawing it, like the turtle was just an ink blob, and they just went with it. You know what I mean? They just fucked up, and they're like, oh, I guess we're just gonna draw this into a turtle. I don't feel like redoing everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, makes sense. Mm-hmm. But it's always there.
Yes. If you haven't seen this, I would highly recommend. It's a great show.
It's so good.
It's very short. And feel free to let us know like anything that you've noticed.
And anything we've missed.
Yes, anything we've missed. I would love to go back about this. I could talk about Over the Garden Wall forever.
Yeah, we love this shit. It's great.
Yes, and if you like a nice older iconic art style, a nice mood, some nice characters.
It's still modernized.
Yes, I definitely feel like it's a piece of the past that's brought to modern life. Yeah. Yes, and I think that's what makes it so artistically unique. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, it makes me think about all that kind of stuff. It's great.
It does. There's also reference to like older things. Like was it the boat at the opening credit sequence is like a reference to like earlier steamboat models that they made. What else? Oh, which reminds me, Greg's original character design was supposed to have a sailor outfit. Yes.
Yeah. And a pan instead of a
Yes, they wanted to do a pan instead of a kettle on top of his head, but they thought it would be...
too Johnny Appleseed.
Yes, too derivative of that, so they cut it.
Good. Mm-hmm. I don't want Greg without his teeth, Cal.
Yeah, it's cute. He's an elephant. Oh, and there's also references between, like... the real life and the unknown. Like, there's a scene in the schoolhouse scene where Greg tries to play Too Old Cat. But it's like a literal they're looking for two old cats, which could be a reference to like what these teenagers were talking about, like at the football game they're at, where they're talking about ball games.
Well, it was the party they
was it the party? Mm-hmm. For some reason I thought it was a game.
They went to the party first.
Oh right, they were outside. Yeah, the two guys sitting outside were talking about it.
Yeah.
Which I thought that was super cool to incorporate that stuff.
There's just so much.
It mixes you up and it confuses you that way because you're like, oh wow.
Yeah.
So it totally spins everything on its head because now when you think about it, you're like, okay, well, is this stuff that's happening meant to be taken literally, or are there places in the real life scenes that are also references to this, and this is just how they're interpreting that or interpreting that? Yeah. Yeah. It's so neat. I love it.
Do you want to talk about more of the music?
More of the music. Oh, there's...
We only kind of glanced on it.
Yeah, there's also a few additional pieces in the soundtrack, but I don't really think they hold up very well as far as, like, context to the show. Like the Send Me a Peach song. It's cute, but it's not really tying that into the show, which is assuming why they took it out. You know what I mean?
It still kind of has the same themes of the show, though, in it.
Yes,
of, like, death and...
and it's heavily speculated that, the patient is the night is very clearly about death.
Yeah. Everything about this fucking show is about
Yes, death. I actually really like it. It touches on themes of life and death in a way that's like, it's serious and it's concerning to some degree, but it also makes it clear that it's just a part of like life and the natural order of things, which I think is very nice. All this. Yes, behind this whole web of eeriness that they put in place.
Yeah, it's weird. It's
very macabre. That's what I like about it.
It's great, and I enjoy it a lot. I'll probably be listening to the music tonight at work.
Oh, so nice.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I love Greg.
I love Greg.
and I want to steal.
I'm here to burgle your turts.
Yeah, we're here to burgle your turts.
We're turtle rich.
Yeah, we're turtle rich. Oh, and that's just a rock fact.
Oh my god. You just did that.
I did just do that.
Oh, yes. I love it. The whole rock fact thing was so cute. He picks up Greg has this whole pet rock, and he just talks a bunch of gibberish, and he's like, "That's why it's untrue. That's a rock fact. That's why it's untrue." And then at the end, he's like, "Greg, I stole that rock from our neighbor's garden. You have to put it back. I'm a stealer."
I'm a stealer. Yeah, I love it.
It's fantastic.
And his frog.
Yes.
He seems like my best friend, too.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say?
Besides watch it.
Yeah, watch it. It's great.
Oh my gosh, yeah. If you're done with all your Netflix shows or whatever,
It's on Hulu.
Yeah, you don't know what to watch, check it out. It's a good-ass show.
Yeah, it's great.
It was unprecedented for the time. This was released on Cartoon Network like
a year or two ago.
It was broadcasted during the day too, like in between some or whatever Cartoon Network episodes.
It's like a noon o'clock
show. I was so surprised, but I was excited for it. I saw the artwork as a teen.
I didn't even know about it until you showed it to me.
Yes, it's underrated, and I do think that it.
But I'm out of the loop for kid cartoons.
It deserves the cult following that it has. For sure.
It's great. Yeah.
Anything else? I don't know. I'm kind of...
Well, I got you guys here.
Kind of all talked out.
Go look at the links in the description.
Yes,
go follow us
so that we can talk about it more.
Go follow us on Instagram and Twitter and YouTube and Facebook.
Fuck yeah, at Untitled Artcast.
Yes. And check out our Patreon because we're going to do some fun stuff with that.
Yes, can't wait to be doing more content pertaining to stuff like this, for sure.
Yeah, we enjoy doing this and it's fun.
Heck yeah.
I'm glad. Yeah. So, yeah.
I think that's going to conclude it for this time.
Yeah, and then next week we're going to be back and we're going to be doing Pokemon like we said this time.
Yes, and we have definitely a lot more to say about that because it's our childhood nostalgia
that one's going to be like 2 times as long as this episode.
So be ready to sit in, tuck in with your blankets and your snacks.
And your Pipcorn.
Yes, and your Pipcorn.
Yeah, get your Pipcorn and your Peepus and really just tuck in and get ready to listen to us talk about Pokermans.
Yeah, so tune in for that next week.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I love you guys.
I love you. Okay, hope you all have a good night.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.